Hey guys, Alex here. Welcome back to my channel, a channel about real estate, personal finance, and business. In today's vlog, I will be sharing with you how to buy a property through bank financing. So the first step is, of course, to find a property that you want to buy. So in order to find a good property, I would really suggest that you get a good broker or a good salesperson, because in the event that there is something wrong or something goes wrong with your purchase, or you have a concern that you want to take up with the seller or the developer, then you will have something to take care of those concerns for you. So you can really call on your broker, and the broker will then help you deal with any problems that you might have. But of course, it's very important to really check the broker, if how long the broker has been in service, how active that person is, and if they really know what they're doing. Okay, so now if you have a broker and you have selected a property that you want to apply for a loan for, that you want to buy, then the next step is requirements. So you need to submit your complete requirements to the bank. So the usual requirements that banks ask for is first 2 valid IDs, both spouses if you're married, and then income documents. So income documents will differ depending on your source of income. So if you're a business owner, then you will need to submit your ITR, financial statements, bank statements, and the permits of your business. If you are self-employed, then similar requirements apply. If you are an OFW or if you are locally employed, then you will need to submit your payslips for the past 3 months and your certificate of employment. And then if you're single, you will need to submit your birth certificate. If married, then your marriage certificate will do. So aside from those basic requirements, you will then need to pay an appraisal fee, which will differ from bank to bank, but the range is usually between 5,000 to 8,000. And of course, you also have to submit your filled up home loan application form. So that's it for the requirements. So you can just submit all soft copies to your broker or direct to the bank if you have a connection with the bank. So what most buyers don't know is there is only, for example, here in Cagayan de Oro, all the banks have only one home loan department. So for example, in BPI, so even though there are a lot of BPI branches, their home loan department is located in Lapasan. Or for East West Bank, their home loan department is located, I think, in Lapasan also. I'm not quite sure. For Security Bank, I think it's located in Georgetown. So it differs from bank to bank. But if you don't want to get out and submit a physical copy of the documents, that's okay, because you can actually just email it. So what I do for my clients is I just ask a soft copy of all the documents that are required, and then I just email them to the home loan officer of their bank of choice. So once the complete requirements are submitted, so that's for the buyer side, then the broker will then be the one to submit the requirements needed from the seller. So usually it's just a copy of the title and the tax declaration. And the next is the bank will then appraise the property. So this is usually done within 7 days of submitting the complete documents. Some banks take longer to appraise, especially for banks whose appraisers are based in another city. So some banks, their appraiser are just here, so they can schedule it within 7 days of requirement submission. But for some banks, they fly in their appraiser from another city. Like some banks, their appraisers are based in Manila, so they have to fly them in. So it can take a bit longer. Okay, so again, let's review the first 3 steps. So step 1, choose a property. Step 2, submit your requirements to your bank of choice. And then the third step is the bank will then appraise the property. So usually after the property is appraised, the bank will check and screen your requirements, and then once approved, usually it takes around 15 banking days. So some banks take 15 days, some banks take longer, maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So usually what I recommend to my clients is BDO, because based on experience, they have the fastest lead time when it comes to client loan approval. Although the other banks are also okay, but I noticed that they just take a bit longer. So BDO, usually after submission of complete requirements, my clients get approved in around 15 days from submission of all the requirements needed. So within 15 days, again, the bank will screen you, and then once approved, after 15 days, you will know if you're approved or not, and once approved, how much you can loan, like what your maximum loanable amount is. So what I also do for my clients is even before requirement submission to the bank, I already compute how much they can loan, what their maximum loanable amount is, so that when we're property searching, they will already know what their maximum budget is. Okay, so number 5, the 5th step will then be signing of contract to sell. So once the client has been approved by the bank will then release a letter of guarantee. So this is the bank's official document guaranteeing that once the title is transferred to the buyer's name, the loan will be released directly to the seller, either through crediting the loan amount in the seller's bank account, if the seller has a bank account in that bank, or the bank can issue a manager's check directly to the seller. Again, the 5th step is signing of the contract to sell. The bank is now not included usually in the signing of the contract. This is a private agreement between the buyer and the seller, wherein they will sign the contract and stating that this is the total contract price, how much the down payment will be. So all the details in the purchase of the property will be reflected in the contract to sell. And then they will also sign another document called the deed of absolute sale. When it comes to bank financing, once the client is approved and the letter of guarantee is out, there will be 2 documents that the buyer and the seller will sign. That is the deed of absolute sale, and that is the contract to sell. Once both documents are signed, the letter of guarantee also has to be signed, by the way. It has to be signed by both the buyer, the seller, and the bank. And all 3 will have their own copy of the letter of guarantee. So once the deed of sale has been signed, the title is then transferred to the buyer's name. So usually here in our city, transfer of title used to take 3 to 4 months prior to COVID, but now with COVID, it takes longer. It takes up to 4 or 5 months, even 6 months. So it takes a while to transfer the title unless you know someone in the government's office, like someone working at PIR or ROD who can really speed things up for you, who can help you expedite the process. But now the usual is between 5 to 6 months. After signing the contract to sell and the deed of sale, the title and all the documents will be turned over to the buyer, and the buyer will turn these documents over to the processor. So usually I have a processor that I recommend to my clients, and then this person will be the one to transfer the title and also the tax debt. Once the title is transferred to the buyer's name, the transferred title is then submitted to the bank, where they will be getting a loan. And once submitted, the bank will then issue a manager's check or credit the loan proceeds directly to the seller's accounts. And that's it. Loan release, that's the last step. Okay, so let me review in case you missed the step. Again, step 1, choose a property. Step 2, submit all your requirements to the bank. Step 3, the bank will then appraise the property. Step 4, review your requirement for approval. So once approved, you will then sign a contract to sell and the deed of sale. So once approved, the bank will then release the letter of guarantee, and then once it's out, you can then sign the contract. The buyer and seller can then close the deal, sign the contract to sell, sign the deed of sale, and then once that's done, the deed of sale and the title will then be turned over to the buyer. The buyer will now start the process of transferring the title to his or her name, so that once the title is transferred, once it's out from the registry of deeds, the transfer title will then be submitted to the buyer's bank of choice, and then the loan will be released directly to the seller. So that's it. I hope you learned something new. And if you did, please don't forget to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to my channel so that you will be notified if I have new videos like this one.